Aye, so anyway, enough of that. Oh, sorry, guys. Well, hello, welcome to tonight's edition of Daily Record Hotline Live. I was just going to discuss with Scott there that we're sending our best of wishes to Daniel Caw, who unfortunately won't be with us again tonight. Scott, how are you?
He's disappeared off the face of the earth. Can't even get in touch with him.
And the rumours and all that, they need to stop.
He's hiding somewhere.
He's just not well. Right. And let's just say, let's just draw a veil over it for the sake of legal reasons. Scott, you well?
Good.
It's been a busy 24 hours. Busy card of football in the Premier League last night, or the Premiership last night, followed by the pantomime, the usual festive pantomime opening season, the AGM of Rangers, which Andy Newport was at earlier on today. A lot for us to talk about.
Wasn't it quite as explosive as we hoped?
Well,
was it?
No, it wasn't. I kind of guess that on the back of 3 straight wins, and particularly the win and performance that Rangers fans have been waiting for all season, maybe that took a bit of the sting out of it. However, there are still things that I want to explore with you and important issues. We'll get some big results from last night. Massive result for Celtic at Pittodrie. That's the sort of one where you look at and say, that's it. In terms of, and you can almost declare now, in terms of the title being over. Aberdeen have had a great start to the season, but I think now that it's not a matter of the bubble busting, but any kind of long shot or kind of ideas that there might be a Leicester City style fairy tale on the cards can now be pushed to one side safely. Obviously, big win for Dundee against Motherwell as well, which, Stuart Kettlewell's got some problems, but we'll come to all that later. First and foremost, Scotty, as we said, on the back of last night's 6-0 win over Kilmarnock, Rangers reconvened on the other side of the Clyde River with their supporters at lunchtime today for an AGM which could have been a whole lot more spicy than it ended up being. Andy Newport was there covering it for us, and I caught up with Andy shortly after the ceremony had closed.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the barnstormer we were all expecting. I don't know if last night's 6-goal thumping of Kilmarnock sort of maybe quelled some of the brewing anger that there's been the last few weeks.
The edge off it.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't the fire and brimstone sort of reception we were expecting. It was quite measured, a lot of people making some pointed questions, but certainly not with the sort of fury we thought we were going to see.
I think there were some real key points though, weren't there? And I think what seemed to come across from the blog was a kind of astonishment in the room when it was confirmed. They needed £800,000 in the summer from sales of Lammers, Cantwell, Goldson, Wright and McCrory. That's some number. Not in a good way.
I think most people had assumed that was some sort of mistake in the accounts, that they'd missed a digit somewhere. So to have it confirmed by James Taylor, I don't know that indeed was the figure, was just met with astonishment. You're talking about, Todd Cantwell, for better or worse, whether or not he was the player that Rangers thought they were getting when they signed him in January the year before last. That's a guy that at one point when he was at Norwich was getting talked with a £40 million move to Chelsea.
Right.
And here he's been thrown down the road to Blackburn for what looks to be like a bag of balls and a couple of quid, along with 5 other players. So I mean, basically, what James Taylor essentially confirmed that the club are basically paying the price of the mistakes made by Michael Beale when he was in charge. They're still having to pay that price, and you've got to say it's a hefty price. When you put it in terms of Robin Propper, who hasn't exactly set the place on fire since he came up the road, cost double that amount. Mikey Johnson, when he left Celtic, a guy who was so far out of the picture, he was barely making it into the team photo at Celtic. Again, he goes for 3-4 times that amount. So I mean, I think that tells you just again, it underlines just how bad some of the decisions that have been made at this club over recent years have been, and
it's you
can understand.
Difficult one for them to try and pin the blame on Michael Beale for the deals that they didn't sanction. You know, I understand that, you know, player recruitment hasn't been great, but that still looks like a paltry number to me. I mean, I think that's astonishing.
Yeah, I mean, that's way. I mean, they never mentioned Michael Beale by name, but, you know, when they start talking about, you know, decisions that were made 18 months, 24 months ago, then you know exactly who they're talking about. Yeah, I mean, you're right in terms of, you know, Niels Cobbin sort of tried to address it, and, you know, said at the end of the day that, you know, you can only sell to what the market's willing to pay, and that was the going rate. I think the suggestions are that, you know, perhaps there was, you know, they maybe had to sweeten some of those deals in order to get them, because at the end of the day they had to cut the wage bill. They had to get the guys. They had to bring that wage bill down. I think they brought it down by something like £6 million.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, that's substantial. It's about ensuring that they can get the club onto a more solid footing to build again. They've had to basically strip back everything. They've had to strip back the playing squad. They've had to strip back the wage bill, certainly, and they're hoping to rebuild again. You know, Philippe Clement will say that last night is proof of the potential he sees in this squad. Too little, too late for this season. You've got to say there's, you know, there's still 11 points behind Celtic, and, you know, I think still a lot of fans will be going into that Premier Sports Cup final in a few weeks, dreading it. You know, frankly, knowing what Celtic have done to this team recently. So, but, you know, in terms of the decision making, you know, to let these guys go, I mean, it's just been a costly exercise all round, isn't it? Either the performance these guys put in the park, most of which wasn't anywhere near up to good enough. You're talking about Sam Lammers coming on thousands of pounds a week, thousands of £1,000, and, you know, then basically been having to be shunted out the door 6 months later. You know, Rangers really having to pay, really, it seems, to get rid of him. So, yeah.
What about Clement, Andy? What about Clement? Did he get a good reception? Did he get a difficult ride? Was it? How did he find it?
It's astonishing. I mean, I think he sort of acknowledged that a wee bit. He said, you know, joked with the players. I honestly didn't tell the players to put on a show last night because I'm going to AGM tomorrow. I really expect him to get a hard time. You just sense the anger, the feeling of frustration around the support, not just with the board, but also with Philippe Clement. He shares his portion of the responsibility for the way that things have gone this season. I thought he was going to get a real grilling. In the end, he really had the fans eating out his hand. Every time he spoke, he spoke with passion. He spoke about his desire to make things better, and how many staff and his players are working around the clock, working night and day to improve things. But, you know, every time he words came out of his mouth, he was getting a round of applause. So, you know, listen, I've been to enough of these AGMs down the years. I've been coming to these sort of 10, 11, 12 years now, and they're never quite as ferocious as you think they are. No matter how bad things are, you expect them, right, they're going to come in and want to burn the place down, and it never quite turns out to be like that. I really thought this year would be
unless
different.
They're doing it under a gazebo.
It's getting whipped away by the wind. But I really thought, I'm going to petition to have them hold these things in summer, because again, you always have to go out and do things like that, Hotline live, and it's absolutely freezing. So,
the tradition is panto season.
Exactly. Well, there you go.
Listen, John Gilligan seemed to come out of it quite well. Presented himself as a man of the people, really, didn't he? Connected with the fans.
Yeah, came out. I mean, listen, again, the fans aren't going to be angry at anything that John Gilligan's done. You know, he's in really there to hold the fort. Well, they look to get a new chairman. He's confirmed that should hopefully be signed and sealed within the next couple of weeks. It's hard to swing a punch at John Gilligan. He's not responsible for any of this. He's just a placeholder that's been put in front of the rest of the board just to hold the fort while they try and get somebody else to come in. Obviously, the big news in the board front is that they're going to restructure it. Obviously, the guys who have been pouring up the money for the last few years have been the guys also making the decisions. I think they realise now that they need to get, you know, certainly guys that live in Glasgow, that live in the west of Scotland. You know, half the board are based in America, based in the Far East. They need to have guys that get their feet in the ground and in touch with the feelings of support.
I think that's a good move, Andy. I think it's about time that they had a bit of kind of structured, independent thinking in there.
Yeah. Listen, I think it's hard to argue against it. As much as I've said it long enough in the paper on Hotline Live that you cannot fault the Rangers directors in terms of their commitment to financial commitment to the club. What you can certainly pick holes in is their decision making. So I think that the hope will be that they can get somebody with, you know, perhaps more expertise in the football side of things. They can get guys who are, as I say, closer and a wee bit more in touch with the day-to-day things around the club, the feelings of the fans, and what's required to make Rangers successful again. So that's a big development that side.
Did Graham Park come under a bit of fire?
He was invited to speak at one moment. Obviously, John Gilligan dealt with most of the questions, and obviously James Taylor, the finance director, dealt with a lot as well. At one point, a shareholder stood up and asked if the other directors on the board, in terms of the company directors, wished to speak. Alistair Johnson came in, offered up this sort of kind of strange suggestion that Rangers might be looking to get involved in some sort of multi-club ownership structure.
Right.
I'm not too sure many supporters will be too keen on that. But also, Graham Park was offered that same opportunity and slightly declined. Just left it to Alistair Johnson and John Gilligan to do the speaking.
Was there a reaction to that, Andy? Because I think that obviously, he's one of the favourite sort of bogeymen for the fans right now, isn't he?
Yeah, not too much reaction. I mean, as I say, they just sort of swapped and moved on. I mean, the one thing I would say is the question they asked, John Gilligan asked at the start, listen, we're going to show you as shareholders and as fans respect. We just ask that you do the same.
Yeah.
And it was pretty respectful. It was, as I say, it wasn't the sort of spiteful afternoon that we thought it might turn out to be. But listen, whether the fans got the answers that they're kind of looking for, I mean, it's, there's a lot of sorries said, a lot of apologies made for things like the Colton Road cock up and the recruitment mistakes that have been made. But in terms of anything that gives them hope or gives them assuages or fears for the future, I'm not sure they got too much of that. Listen, the proof will be in the pudding when it comes to what happens in the park. Philippe Clement has said often enough, this is a squad that needs time. How much time is he going to get? Again, that might be decided at Hampden in a couple of weeks' time. But whether that is enough to create the wider support, I'm not sure.
Right, brilliant, Andy. Maybe this time next year, when a chief executive gets appointed, you might get an AGM that actually gives you more questions to the answers. But Andy, thanks again, mate. Thanks for doing that for us, and we'll see you later.
Cheers, Keith. Thanks, pal.
Bye. Yeah, just like that, our AGM correspondent, Andy Newport, walked off into the sunset doing the Peter Kay dance and singing "Show Me the Way to Amarillo."
And dodged the hotline live tonight.
The armadillo. Aye, dodged hotline live. But, Scott, some interesting things I took from that. The 800,000 thing was in the accounts, right? So it was kind of public knowledge. It still frazzles your brain trying to think, well, and I went away and I looked up again. Sam Lammers, the fee to go to 20 Enschede was around 2.5 million. So Andy says sweeteners, that's some amount of sweeteners that have been dished out over the summer. It's incredible. It's incredible. And I don't like this sort of temptation to, it's Michael Beale's fault. It's not. Michael Beale wasn't sitting down in negotiations this time, or 6 months ago when you were trying to get players in and out.
No, but it's just unbelievable that a club the size of Rangers left themselves in a position in the summer where they had a group of players where they literally had to get them out the door for whatever money they could get. I mean, no negotiation essentially. Aye, no negotiation. And these are like, no, it's not like kids here. This is like seasoned pros, Lammers, Goldson, Cantwell. No, players that they should have got some decent money in for. And the fact that that 800 grand, I say, is staggering for the quality that's went out the door. But it just shows you the state Rangers had got themselves into in the summer, by the fact that they, by hook or by crook, they had to get these guys out, and it didn't matter what kind of money came in.
I don't know. It doesn't ring true for me. See this market value. Todd Cantwell market value 600. That's nonsense. It's just nonsense. It's just a nonsense. And I don't know how comfortable Rangers fans or shareholders should be right now with listening to this and listening to people trying to apportion blame. You guys were sitting around the negotiation table. You let these guys go for buttons. Yeah. In fact, you actually paid them to go. Yeah, and by the way, these are the same guys, or some of them are the same guys, who allowed Alfredo Morelos' contract to run out when they could have got big money. Ryan Kent's contract to run down. That's millions again. Yeah, it's just bad business. Going out the door. It's just bad business. Now, another part of this AGM, an interesting part, Alistair Johnson. Now, Alistair is prone to kind of going off at a tangent, right? We know that. But as Andy said, he was invited to take the floor. And let me just read you what he said, Alistair Johnson at the AGM. We were in Nice last week. I had lunch along with several of my friends, fellow directors and officers. And the owner there was Jim Radcliffe, who, through his company, has authority of Manchester United. But he basically owns everything else. We're looking right now at different issues as to whether or not club formations can be a pathway for us. For example, everybody knows Manchester City's got clubs under its umbrella. I think that's one we may be looking at more carefully. In terms of the new CEO coming in from Manchester United, I would look for him to provide a lot of advice in that regard and how we basically improve our bottom line by collaborating. That's quite a bombshell to drop in. And I know it probably kind of didn't get much of a ripple. But see, over the course of the last few hours, as people have sort of disseminated what's been said, what does he mean by this?
Well, exactly. That's the big question. I mean, when I first read it, my first thought was, is he talking about, because they're getting the new CEO who used to be at Man U, is that going to be linked to Ratcliffe? Is that going to be
Well, bear in mind, Scott, that Patrick Stewart helped facilitate the Ineos deal, which brought Jim Ratcliffe into Old Trafford. Yeah. So the link is there. The link is obvious, established.
But then the next question is, no, Rangers are obviously not going to have, you wouldn't have thought would have the financial clout to have clubs under their umbrella. So are Rangers going to be essentially a feeder club for one of the others? I don't think fans would accept that, a club Rangers size kind of being told what to do and who to sign and whatever. I don't see that happen. But as we spoke off air, what Alistair Johnson says probably has thrown up more questions than answers, I think. But I think the key point to it is, and probably what he was meaning, is that Rangers need to build relationships with clubs again. From the outside,
they're so insular.
Yeah, for the outside, I mean, we don't know, but for the outside, it feels like for a number of years now, we used to talk about how years ago Rangers had power within UEFA with Campbell Ogilvie and people like that. All of that was lost through 2012 and afterwards. But even in recent years, it just feels like Rangers, they don't have that clout anymore. They don't have relationships with big clubs. No, where they can talk about players, they can talk about coaches.
Scott, this is the thing, right? I talked about the bowling club sort of organisation.
It ties in with that.
And it is, because I'm telling you now, there are people inside that boardroom, and this is what the problem has been, and this is what's been holding them back. As much as these people are well-meaning people, and they're putting in a lot of money, and they think that entitles them to being a director and run the decision-making process, they don't trust one another inside that room, never mind anybody out of it. And I've been told stories plenty of times from different clubs who've been coming down to Ibrox for the big game treatment, walked into the Blue Room and just been ignored. They're in a little cabal, a little clique. That's not representative of what Rangers Football Club ought to be.
Yeah, or what they used to be.
Or what it used to be.
Yeah.
And I think, this is why I think this structural change that they're talking about, bringing in proper executives, bringing in non-exec directors, they should be front-facing people that are bold and
100%.
capable of leading.
That has to happen.
And taking people with them. And that is talking, and it is forming relationships.
Yep.
And if Patrick Stewart can bring all that to the table his first few days in charge, well, he'll go off to fly.
And we said it, you don't need to be a feeder club, but you look at Celtic's
relationship with Man City.
The City group. No, that yields, whatever you think of it, that yields Ronnie Dyla and Ange Postecoglou and other players and coaches. There's a relationship there, there's communication, there's dialogue. No, when you're dealing with clubs that size, and you think the Premier League and where Man City are, that's a good thing to have. And that's what Rangers, I'm as well as a million other things, have lacked in recent years. So I think you're right. I think the structural kind of change of the boardroom was I almost felt like one of the big positives to come out of the day. The fact that they've accepted that there has to be proper change and proper executive business guys getting in there who know how to run a
proper people,
club.
legitimate people is what's required, and it is this independence and being independent from the shareholders and being able to turn round to the investors and say, no, we're not doing it your way anymore. This needs a fresh, recalibrated look, and this is how you drive a modern football club, not this way. It's actually the opposite the way you guys have been doing it. Now, if Patrick Stewart comes in and he's given that authority and the power to do that, I think that can only be good for Rangers. But as ever, the proof will be in the pudding. Let's see what happens when he gets in. Is he going to be dictated to by his guys that are potentially, or not potentially, but effectively his paymaster?
Yeah, you've said it. I mean, the proof will be in the pudding. There was a lot was a lot of apologies today. There was a lot of promises. There was a lot of... I was following it like you on the Daily Record blog with Gavin and Andy. There seemed to be a lot of comments where we hope to do this and we hope to do that. And the hoping, no, you can't have hoping anymore.
Yeah, just do
you
it.
need to go and do it.
Yeah, just
no,
do
they need to say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
Chris Fraser watching live on YouTube. The boardroom is totally embarrassing at Ibrox. You reap what you sow. Scott, I think they got lucky though for once, because they don't often get a lot of luck. This Rangers board, I think they got lucky in the time in the less than 24 hours after a pretty, what felt like potentially at least a pretty significant win for Clement.
I thought it was very significant. I mean, it's their best domestic performance of the season by some distance, especially the second half, but the first half was good as well. It was a Rangers team with cohesion, fluidity, a bit of pace, a bit of tempo, a bit of urgency, and they were clinical in front of goal, which hasn't happened often this season, especially domestically. So it was different, but it was different because there was different players in the team, different attacking players. Hadji...
Keep going back to Yanis Hadji,
it's
mate.
only been
How many times have I had to have this conversation with you?
Listen, he's had 2 starts and he's got 3 assists. This is a guy that Rangers were ignoring.
No, they weren't ignoring, they were actually embarrassing him.
Aye. It was...
They were degrading him.
We said at the time, I think, we were pretty much shot down by, maybe people on the outside, but even by Rangers and Clement. We were saying at the time, this guy you've got in the building is a better attacking midfielder than anything that you've got, or anything that you've brought in.
And a variety of windows. They couldn't wait. Nigel Beale couldn't wait to get him out of the building in order to make room for the Sam Lammers summer. The summer of Sam. And that went well. That went about as well as the title would lead you to believe.
The Sam and cereal summer. Listen, Hadji's a top player. This is it. See, before Yanis Hadji got injured, he was a top player for Rangers. Goals, assists. He had the most assists in the top flight the year Rangers won the league. No, he got injured for a year with a bad injury, and it almost felt like when he came back, because of this clause, when he came back under Beale, and it emerged that if he played one more game, there was this pay rise and stuff. And
pay rise was meant to be about $6,000 a week. How much money has been wasted on the likes of Lammers, and clearly they've hardly got a button back. The likes of Bayrami, who might still come good, but they had this guy who was already there, the ready-made answer for them.
Exactly. The thing about Bayrami is, and I think Bayrami's a good player and could become a really important player for Rangers, a valuable player. But they've went and spent, we were led to believe, 2.5 to 3 million on Bayrami. Essentially, he kind of plays the same position as Hadji. He's a similar type of player. And I think Hadji's better. I think he offers more to Rangers. So that begs the question, did they really need to go and get Bayrami? Could that money have been spent elsewhere? Could it have been another striker? Or it just ties in with the whole mess, the whole mismanagement.
But now you look at this Rangers side and you think for the first time this season, he's actually now getting a variety of options in the attacking area. And I think it's way too early for anybody to start talking about Rangers turning a corner. But maybe this is a period in the season where they can start to get at least a bit of traction. Aberdeen are only a point ahead of them now, 4 points ahead, but Rangers have that game in hand, haven't they?
The thing is, Keith, the thing that was there last night for Rangers that hasn't been there was, as I say, that fluidity, the movement of positions, players. Philippe Clement had been pretty rigid.
They've been so structured and predictable.
So rigid. And yet last night you're seeing Hadji popping up centrally or on the right. He starts off the left, but you see him popping up everywhere. Danilo's dropping in, starts as a number 10, but can go and play as a number 9. Igamani starts up front, but as we touched on last night, he can play off the left, where he was drifting out there.
And when
Hadji came inside.
When Hadji does drift out to the wide areas, that allows a Czerny or whoever to start darting inside and making different runs. Completely changes the style of play. Completely changes.
And having Raskin as the main sitter, but no having somebody sitting beside him, like a Baron, Diomande was in there with him, but Diomande's a runner as well,
Yeah,
so he had a bit of licence to get forward as well. So it was pretty good to watch.
Well, Aaron Gerris, what a great night for Rangers. They doubled their goal tally for the season and the champions win at Pittodrie to give them some hope for second place. And moving on to that, because I think that's not the only type of comment. What we've got here, this was on YouTube at Camden NW1. The weather ruined what could have been a great spectacle. This is obviously Celtic's win at Pittodrie. Good result for Celtic. What was a grind, but against the Dons, great home record. You take a win and move on. That pretty much sums up the Aberdeen Celtic game last night. It was a bit of a hard watch,
It was.
but only because of the elements, really.
Yeah. But it had the hallmark of champions written all over it, that performance. No, that's the type of display that gets you titles. Get up there, as I say, it's blowing a gale. There was sleet at one point, as Mick Gannon was telling us last night. You could see even the pictures.
Just looked nasty, didn't it? The corner flags.
Horrible. Absolutely horrible. Hostile atmosphere as well for Celtic getting up there. And as you say, it was a tough watch. It wasn't pretty at all, but they got the job done and they came up with a real moment of quality for the goal.
And I tell you where you've got to give them credit, because in terms of what it takes to win titles and to go on these runs, and we've talked about, has Brendan Rodgers set a target for this team to get to the end of the domestic season unbeaten again? I think they might well have done. You're going to need days like that in this league, where it's not going to be about pretty football. It takes deep down in your gut to want to fight the guy that's up against you, because Aberdeen were going at it like Dervishes last night, and Celtic had to stand up to that, withstand it and overcome it.
And that was typified by the Carter Vickers block at the end to deny Sokler.
Carter Vickers was outstanding.
Unbelievable.
On a day when there wasn't much football played, I'm not saying Carter Vickers was cutting about like Franz Beckenbauer, but he was an absolute rock for Celtic.
But that block, the desire he shows to go and
No right
that
to
makes
get
the
there.
difference. That's
No
the
right.
difference between a win and a draw. And I saw, I think the stats came up the day comparing, I think it was Sky, it might have been last night, comparing this Rodgers team to the Invincible team, which we've discussed on here before.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers after the same amount of games, they are actually very similar. But the one difference is Celtic are actually stronger defensively than they were in that Invincible season at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that'll be brilliant for Rodgers to know.
As much as they're tracking ahead of that Invincible season.
Aye. And it's guys like Carter Vickers and Schmeichel and that are helping them do that.
Just having a look at some of the comments coming in. Thanks very much, guys. I know that you're sitting watching us live across all the socials. Alistair Ramage, who's watching us on Facebook, says, "Oh, come on, as a clown. We must get him out." Right, okay, so maybe hasn't won over everybody from last night. Again, Mark Fairfield, a regular on YouTube, is watching us. Turning the corner, Rangers can't even get along the street close enough to see the corner.
That's how it was slaughtering me last night. I'm not paying any credence to that comment at all.
Right, William Sloan on YouTube. No, not too early for Rangers fans, Keith. If the message is here or anything to go by, lol. I don't know what that means. Do you know what I mean?
No idea.
And another one, Mr. J. Swanee. Not Swanee, surely.
Might be.
Oh no, Sammy. Even my specs on, I can't even. Celtic fans are talking about Rangers again. Fly digs here and there. Well, it was ever thus. That's the nature of the world. That's the nature of the beast. Scott, do you think that this now? Do you think there's Celtic fans out there who might be slightly concerned now about how it might look at Hampden in a week or so?
I don't know. I mean, I thought about that last night watching the Rangers game. Whether
Oh, by the way, I've got a message here from the producer, young Derek. He obviously thinks that we're old buddies, right? LOL equals laughing out loud. Yeah, we're aware of that.
we know that.
That was the rest of the point we didn't get.
That's stupid.
I'm lolling all over it, shop.
No, I think the Rangers' performance last night would obviously have given the supporters a bit of hope. Would Celtic fans be worried? No, I don't think so. It's going to take a lot more than a home win against Kelly. But look, I think just within the Rangers' dressing room, that performance, the way they played, how clinical they were, as I said earlier, that fluidity, cohesion that hasn't really been there before, that has to give them a wee bit of confidence going into next week. But they need to take care of Ross County first.
Well, that's it, because
Sunday.
now we look forward to the weekend. Now, obviously, Dundee got a 4-1 win. That needs to be mentioned against Motherwell last night. That's a big win for them, isn't it? Given that they've not just got into their stride yet, but they're still in a very healthy position.
It was, well, they're into the top five now, Dundee. After a wee sticky patch, when you kind of wondered about them, because obviously a lot of changes in the summer. They lose their top man, Luke McCowan. But watching the highlights last night, I mean, Lyle Cameron looks as if he's taken over that mantle. I mean, he could be the next one to go. Just on that game, I mean, Motherwell are obviously struggling a bit, but I don't know, mate, did you see Stuart Kettlewell's comments last night? I mean,
he was unhappy.
Scathing with John Beaton.
With John Beaton, yeah.
Incredible.
He decided to be God there and just decided it wasn't a serious head injury.
And you've got to agree with him, having watched the highlights.
That's difficult to disagree. I think he's spot on with it.
I thought it was incredible to leave the guy lying there. No, for a ref to make that decision, no, to leave a guy lying with a head knot in the box.
Just have a look at that. He's all right.
Aye.
Yeah, no, it is.
And it rarely
something
happens.
like that could backfire spectacularly.
Big time.
I think Stuart Kettlewell made a very fair point there. Some more comments here. Stephen Mulhern. Philippe Clement has said that the season wasn't decided in December, but at a rain-soaked Pittodrie, Celtic almost certainly clinched the title once again. I kind of think we started with that. That feels like a significant moment for Celtic. It feels the latest of many, but
it feels as if it's done. Which, listen, on a serious note, isn't good for Scottish football. We're sitting here on the 5th of December saying the league flag's already been decided. That's not what you want for the game in general. But it's impossible to see how Celtic lose it now. I mean, we're talking about the possibility of going through a full season unbeaten. No, the flip of that is for Rangers or Aberdeen to get back into it. No, they need to go and lose 3-4 games while they win every game. It's just
not going to happen.
It's not happening.
I mean that and again it feeds back into the discussion we've been having about Celtic playing in the Champions League. There is that danger of a drop off domestically when your squad's not equipped to cover it, but it is equipped to cover it, and that's not been done by accident. Just trying to take a look through the comments here. Joe Graham. At last, the magic wand has been waved. It must be talking about the Rangers 6-0 win. The signs look good now for a winning run. We are not out of the title race yet, and the League Cup final looks on now. Optimistic.
But positivity, that's what they need.
Would you agree with him? Are we going to get a contest in this cup final?
Your instincts would say no, but I refer back to the Scottish Cup final at the end of last season when everybody had completely written Rangers off getting into that game, and obviously Celtic go and win it. But for a lot of that game, Rangers matched them. I mean, again, weren't pretty to watch, had to play in a certain way to nullify Celtic's threats. But at 0-0, they score through Sima for a corner. It gets chalked off for a foul on the goalkeeper. Chopped off for. And obviously they get the winning goal at the end, which is a big mistake from Jack Butland. So the margins were pretty fine, the Scottish Cup final. Whether Rangers can reproduce that or no, whether they feel...
Would you not make the argument, that Celtic have got stronger since then and Rangers have went the other way?
Of course.
There's a bigger gap.
Yeah, of course there.
I know it was a one-off game.
And the thing is, it'll be interesting last night, because of the way Rangers played last night, will they now think, maybe we can go and play against Celtic at Hampden, maybe we can go toe-to-toe, because we've suddenly got these players who can cause them a problem.
I think the best that Rangers can hope for is, that's 3 wins they've rattled off. And St Johnstone game, not particularly impressive, but on the back of a 4-1 win in Nice was good. Then to follow that up with last night, all of a sudden for the first time you see them with variations going forward and different options. Yeah. So I think you're absolutely right though, and this is what we'll leave on tonight. We're obviously looking forward to the weekend matches. Scott, where are you going?
I'll be at Celtic Park for the game against Hibs.
Right, okay.
Which is the last game Hibs needed after kind of turning the corner.
This has happened to Hibs a few times this season.
It's just typical Hibs, typical for David Gray. I mean, you get that, as I say, they get the last gasp draw against Aberdeen. It's a big moment for them. They follow that up with a brilliant win over Motherwell. And you're thinking they can maybe go and build a wee bit of momentum.
And then they run into
bang,
Celtic.
You go to Celtic.
And it happened. They had Celtic twice the space of a few days right at the start of the season, when they were desperately trying to get some momentum as well. Yeah, good luck with that, David. Great. And obviously then the Sunday, Ross County. I've got another comment here from a Mr. B. Ferguson from Hamilton. Says, I don't know what he's referring to, he says, but certainly better than your shirt. Thanks, Baz. Listen to me, man. Don't you worry about the fashion. Just leave that with me. So Rangers go to Ross County. And it's,
they've struggled.
They've struggled.
Big time.
And do you know what, Scott? They're heading into a week with Spurs on the Thursday night and then the cup final.
Massive.
That they cannot even contemplate coming away down the road from the Highlands with anything less than 3 points. And, by the way, a convincing performance. We need another convincing performance. Get 4 wins in the trot, score some more goals, and at least give yourself the best chance, be the best version of yourself as you're heading in towards 2 massive matches.
Certainly due a performance in Dingwall. I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head the last time they played well there and won. They lost there when they kind of threw away the title last season. And it just seems to be a place where they struggle. Early kick-off as well, seem to struggle with this early kick-off on a Sunday going up there. I mean, Ross County's record at home this season has been really good. Really good. And I mean, I watched Ross County, obviously, capitulate at Celtic Park on Saturday. 45 minutes, 5-0 down. And you're coming away from it thinking they'll still cause Rangers a problem next week because they're at home and it's a completely different game. But I agree with you. I think Rangers need to go there, not with the mentality of, it's Ross County, it's Dingwall, it's the drive up.
I can't wait for the Spurs game.
Do you know what I mean? They need to go there and say, it's Ross, we should be going there and winning. We're just taking 6 off Kilmarnock, getting it with a bit of confidence, go and attack the game, try and score early, as we spoke about before the game last night. And if they do that, then they should have more than enough to go.
They'll give themselves the best chance of negotiating. I don't give a lot of hope for Rangers going into next week. Spurs and Celtic double header, really, really tricky. But certainly, if they can show again another step in the right direction, more progress, a decent performance as well as 3 points. But everything stops if they don't get that.
They need to beat Ross County, and then against Spurs, everyone accepts that that's a mammoth task for them. I mean, a lot will depend on the team that Hans Postecoglou decides to bring up to Ibrox, because
he'll go strong.
You would have thought so, but in the Europa League this season, has kind of brought in the second string for a few of the games. As you say, maybe that will change coming back to Ibrox. The whole kind of,
I think they need the points as well, don't they?
I think they do.
He'll go strong.
They drew with Roma in the last game. But for Rangers' point of view, no, they can't lose heart if they lose that game, because MD can get beat off Spurs on their day if they fancy it coming to Ibrox. They just beat Man City.
Man City 4-0 at the Etihad.
Right, but I agree with you, but Rangers need to show something. Even if it's a defeat, they need to show a bit of progress. They've been decent in Europe this season. Obviously, the blot and the copy, but it was Leon at home who were too good for them at Ibrox and put 4 past them. They need to show a bit of progress, try and keep the feel-good factor going, get into Hampden on the Sunday, because to have any chance, they're going to need that.
It's another massive week, and very rarely a week goes by where you don't find yourself saying that, but this feels like another massive week coming up. We'll be back, Scott, and you won't be.
I'm off next week.
I know you always take a Sunday off. Off all next week?
Off all next week. Yep.
We Daniel better get in here then.
Exactly.
So we'll be back Sunday anyway with the next instalment of Hotline Live, when we're looking back on these big weekend matches, and we can look forward again to the matches ahead. Scott, thanks for your company.
Cheers, Keith.
Thanks for bailing us out.
Cheers.
And thanks everyone at home for getting in touch and sending in your messages, comments. Much appreciated. We'll do it all again on Sunday night, Sunday afternoon.